Hey, what is going on YouTube? Mike here from Team VRY. Now, if you're looking for a perfectly usable iPhone in 2024, then you might want to go with the iPhone 13. Sure, it's an older device, but it does have some standout features that make it worth using even in this day and age. With that said, let's take a look. Now, before we move on with the video, we do cover a lot of different stuff here on Team VRY, including stuff like Google Pixel phones and iPhones as well. If you want to check out those videos, feel free to click on some of the links in the description below. With that said, let's get started. Alright, so first off, let's go over the design of the iPhone 13. Now, it's not gonna look that outdated compared to newer iPhone models thanks to the overall look of the device, which features flat sides and is a design choice that Apple has stuck with since the iPhone 12. It doesn't look too old like the iPhone 11 or the 10 or the XS. And yeah, I do like the compact size. It's very pocket friendly unlike the larger Plus or Pro Max iPhones. And the 6.1-inch display is of course terrific for single-handed use. Now, speaking of the display, the phone does come with an OLED screen, which does mean that you'll get great looking colors and contrast, terrific viewing angles, and overall a satisfying viewing experience, especially when navigating through the phone's user interface and using your apps. With that said though, one caveat of the display is that it comes with a slower 60Hz refresh rate, so if you're someone who's very particular about the appearance of their smartphone display, then you might want to go for an iPhone with a higher refresh rate, although it will cost a lot more since Apple reserves the higher refresh rates for its Pro models. Of course, on the other hand, you can also get an Android phone such as the Pixel 7a, which is a bit cheaper than the iPhone 13 and does come with a 90Hz refresh rate, although of course that is an entirely different operating system. But yeah, it's one thing to take into consideration, especially for people who are particular about their smartphone display. One aspect though where the iPhone 13 shines is with performance. It does come with the A15 Bionic chipset, and while it is a bit older at this point, especially compared to the newer A17 Pro chip, it's still a very capable SoC in my opinion. It's great for everyday use. You're not gonna get any lag or stutters here. And for people who just want a dependable device that's not gonna give any trouble with slowdowns and freezing and restarts, the A15 Bionic is a solid performer. Of course, it's also capable of gaming. So if you're someone who wants to play a bit more graphics intensive games, the A15 Bionic inside the iPhone 13 will be able to handle those. And of course, lighter games will be a breeze for the chipset. Overall though, it's a solid performer, and I have no problems with daily usage on the iPhone 13. Now, of course, we also have to talk about software. While it is kind of an older model, the iPhone 13, of course, still gets a lot of the current software updates from Apple. So you're getting iOS 17 updates on here, and of course, we're going to get the iOS 18 update later this year for the iPhone 13. And given Apple's impressive track record when it comes to long-term support for their many devices, it's safe to say that you can use the iPhone 13 for many more years without worrying about Apple discontinuing or ending support for the smartphone. Now, in addition to long-term support on the iPhone 13, you're also going to get access to the essential iOS features such as FaceTime, iMessage, and a lot of Apple exclusive services. Now, if you're coming from an older iPhone or you're looking to transition from Android to iPhone, then the iPhone 13 is one way to get access into Apple's ecosystem without spending a ton of cash. Now, moving on, with all this performance and software involved, you're going to have to factor in the battery performance. And I have to say that the battery on the iPhone 13 is very much capable. For daily usage, I've gotten better battery life on my iPhone 13 versus a lot of my Pixel phones. And I think that it's something that Apple's base model iPhones continue to excel with, especially for users who just want a reliable smartphone without having to worry about charging their battery halfway through the day. But of course, it's hard to speak for everyone since each user is going to have a different set of apps, different usage patterns. But speaking from personal experience, the iPhone 13 can usually last me a day and maybe even more if I use it really conservatively. Of course, if you play a lot of games on your phone, you're gonna drain the battery a lot faster, but for most users, the iPhone 13's endurance shouldn't be an issue. Alright, so one of the biggest highlights of the iPhone 13 is the camera performance. Admittedly though, it does come with a moderate hardware setup consisting of a dual primary lens and an ultra-wide lens, in addition to the selfie camera in front, so there's no macro or telephoto lens here. But yeah, again, for most people who just want a reliable phone that they can use for social media posts, sending photos to family and friends, and just daily documentation, the iPhone 13's camera performance will be suitable for most people. And of course, you do get a ton of features such as night mode, photographic styles, as well as in-depth controls which let you fine-tune the adjustments of your photo. And yeah, coming from someone who uses a Pixel phone for a lot of mobile photography, the iPhone 13 does feature a very capable camera setup. Right, so we've heard the good stuff about the iPhone 13, but of course it's not a perfect device, and there are going to be some shortcomings with this older model from Apple. For one, it doesn't come with USB-C unlike the newer iPhone 15 series, so if you're not a fan of Apple's Lightning cables or Lightning ports, you're going to have to go for the newer iPhone 15 or the 15 Pro models, and those will come with USB-C compatibility. And like I mentioned earlier, the display is at 60 Hz, and for what Apple is charging, you're gonna find a ton of different Android phones with higher refresh rates. If you're not particular about the operating system on your phone and just want a phone with a really good display, then you might want to look at something else. Alright, so right now the iPhone 13 starts at around $600 with 128 gigs of internal storage, and it sits just between the more affordable iPhone SE and the iPhone 14, which is very similar to the 13, although it does come with a few new tricks up its sleeve. But yeah, for $600, you're getting a reliable iPhone with a lot of the same iOS features, a good camera, a capable chipset. Of course, you're gonna miss out on stuff like the dynamic island, USB-C connectivity, and slightly faster charging speeds. But again, if all you're after is a reliable iPhone, then the iPhone 13 is definitely something that you might want to consider when it comes to Apple hardware. Alright guys, so that does it for this quick review. Let me know your thoughts about the iPhone 13 in 2024 in the comments below. Are you still using one, or are you looking to get one for yourself? Don't forget to check out our other content here on Team VRY. Thanks all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.